Welcome back to Quarantine Apologetics, defending the faith while under lockdown. I'm Allan Ruhl. Today I want to talk about conversion stories. I read a lot of conversion stories. Sometimes I'll even read conversion stories about one guy going to another faith, and and I'm not a member of either faith. It's kind of fascinating to me. Now, some conversion stories are better than others. Scott Hahn obviously has a good story. Peter Gilchrist. Then there are terrible conversion stories. Probably the worst one I've came across is Dreher. He has the worst conversion story I've ever heard. He was Catholic, now he's something else. And what happened to Dreher is he was a Catholic journalist. In 2002 happened with all these priests raping children and the bishop covering it up. So he wrote about it, and eventually he lost his faith. Now, he tells a story about how he lost his faith, and that is, back when he was a Catholic, in his early days as a Catholic, he got invited to volunteer at a soup kitchen, and at the soup kitchen, he's volunteering, he's serving soup and stuff, he's working in the kitchen, and then at the end of the shift, he's like, this isn't for me. I'm an intellectual. I'm an intellectual. I want to read books, and I want to sharpen my arguments and my apologetics.
So I went down to the soup kitchen. I scrubbed pots. I peeled potatoes, and that was that. When it was over, I thought, well, that's very nice, but I'm really more of an intellectual. My time would be better spent reading books of theology and apologetics. Never went back to the soup kitchen.
And of course, I'm not against reading books or apologetics. I'm an apologist myself. But if that's the center of your life, it's kind of like, what kind of sophist do you have to be like, I'm not going to volunteer, I'm just going to read books, do apologetics. And you guys who don't read books, you go help serve the poor. Who talks like that? Who talks like, what kind of a sophist do you have to be? Like, that is so smug and so condescending. I read books, woo. And of course, reading books is not bad, but it can help you get caught up in intellectual pride, which is horrible. And that usually ends up destroying your faith, if there was any faith there to destroy. I got two more examples, Michael Coren and Dyer. Michael Coren, I see this intellectual pride thing with him. He was, it says on his Twitter, I've published 17 books, 4 bestsellers. What he doesn't tell you there is he's repudiated every bestseller because they're Catholic apologetics books. He's an Anglican now. But, it's on there, and he's the Reverend Michael Coren, Now, Dyer, same problem. He hasn't published a ton of books, but he's kind of like, look what I've read. Look, he'll take his book and show them. It's like, look at all the tabs I have in my book. Look at this. You can see I've read it.
And it's volume 14, right? So volume 14 is the Ecumenical Councils, right? Oh, he's read it too. Look at all those books. He knows what he's talking about.
He does that all the time. And so it's kind of like, whoa, look at this. Never mind the fact that he's changed his religion 5 times in his adult life. I mean, all those tabs don't help you there. But look, I got tabs. Now, Dreher, to his credit, he seems to have learned his lesson. Like that whole soup kitchen episode he talks about, he looks back and frowns upon that episode. Whereas if you see... Whereas Coren and Dyer haven't learned their lesson yet. If you've changed your faith 4 times in this, in the case of Coren, 5 in the case of Dyer, might want to have a bit of humility. Jackie Shea, I was talking to Jackie Shea, who's been on my show before. Shout out to Jackie Shea. She told me about a guy who was a Protestant who was super anti-Catholic. Then he became a Catholic who was super anti-Protestant. Then he became a raging atheist. Now he's anti-everything. So, just calm down, be humble, and learn that faith is more than just reading books. Nowhere in the entire Bible does it say reading books gets you to gets you to heaven or justifies you or saves you or whatever. Nowhere. If you can find it, I'll take down this video. But when I started my website back in 2015, in the phases of planning, I sent an email to a well-known American Catholic apologist, John Salza. And so Salza, I asked him for some advice in this. And he said, first he talks about the website, tells me what to do. Then he says, however, you need to have a strong interior life of prayer to do this work. You have to spend every day in meditation in order to receive the graces. We are not engaged in a purely academic exercise, but are battling powers and principalities. God bless John Salza. So it's more than just reading books, because books alone will lead you to intellectual pride. You need to connect with God through prayer, through fasting, through volunteering. And so that's the key. Humble yourself, and make sure that you connect to God. Because if you're not connected to God, all the books in the world, all the tabs in the world, all the bestsellers won't do a thing for you. God bless.